speaker will be Professor David Waters. He's director of the Center for New England Culture. He's written many books and articles. He serves as the trustee on the New Hampshire Historical Society, Robert Frost Homestead Foundation, and the Portsmouth Black Heritage Trail.
Well, thank you and good afternoon. It's such a great honor to be here. I'm actually wearing two hats today because I am also the official state representative from the New Hampshire Division of Historical Resources and the State Historical Resources Council. This is the body that is responsible, along with the Department of Transportation, for the state's historical highway marker program authorized by RSA 227 and RSA 236. And it all seems simple enough when you read the RSA from the state of New Hampshire. Any municipality, agency, organization, or individual may propose a marker to commemorate significant New Hampshire places, persons, or events. Sounds simple, doesn't it, Rich? But that's not really the whole story. It takes extraordinary research, it takes extraordinary effort to gather together the petition that's required from citizens to persuade historical resources that this is indeed a site worthy of joining the couple hundred other sites so marked. It is truly a rare honor. And then if you do all that, you run into the fact that for over 10 years, the state of New Hampshire had no money in the fund. We're familiar with this issue in New Hampshire. And so there it was. And then fortunately, a few years ago, Carol Murray, then the head of the Department of Transportation, was able to slip a little money out of the funding to study the Route 93 widening corridor and said, we've got to get the historical marker program going again. And I said, we've got to get Wentworth Cheswell to the top of the list. And so here it is. It's a very proud day for the state of New Hampshire and for Newmarket as well. And one of the things about preserving history and the important work of the Division of Historical Resources and its partnership through events like this with local communities is this kind of unbroken chain of concern for history in New Hampshire, which means that resources are preserved or restored and saved. And I think it's worth thinking back to Wentworth Cheswell himself, who was very concerned with history in his own life. I do think he understood he was making history. I think he came out of a generation of African Americans who either were free or recently freed after the Revolutionary War. Although there was the last recorded slave held in New Hampshire, was noted in the census of 1840 in Hollis, New Hampshire, so that was still a long history after the time of Wentworth Cheswell's life. But this generation in particular thought that those words that all men are created equal applied to them, and presumed to take on the function of being citizens, to have the kinds of roles that Wentworth Cheswell played. There was a kind of an extraordinary history of this generation after the Revolutionary War in the early 1800s in places like Portsmouth and Newmarket and elsewhere. But it was a history long lost, and I do think Wentworth Cheswell knew that history could get lost. He spent considerable amount of time, in fact, copying the town records of the town of Newmarket because he saw the condition they were in and feared that they would deteriorate, crumble, and be lost. And if you would like to see in Wentworth Cheswell's hand the town records of Newmarket copied, you can go to the special collections at the University of New Hampshire Library and see that document. Now, little would Wentworth Cheswell know that the kind of chain of witnesses and concerned historians would pass to Richard Alpern, but here we are. And I think that as we value Wentworth Cheswell, we also have to recognize that it is places like the Newmarket Historical Society and people like Richard Alpern that means that history still lives, and that this story, which was important in its own time, and now is again so important to us to understand the promise of what New Hampshire was and what New Hampshire can be. And so I applaud you all, and I'm so pleased to be here, and thank you.